What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch-Up, of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, today we're going to be taking a look at some bombshell pieces of news that we've gotten recently, especially over the last 24 hours, that have just changed things. I mean, they're just adding so much intrinsic value. We're getting it from China, we're getting it from Visa, we're getting it from Florida, and you need to see what all is going on. Of course, the goal of this channel is to keep you as caught up on crypto as possible, and so with that said, let's catch up, shall we? Now, today, guys, of course, don't forget, if you do want to trade some Bitcoin yourself or Solana, ETH, many other options on up to 100x leverage without needing the KYC, meaning you don't hand over your personal information, without even needing a VPN, you can just sign up and start trading. You're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses and rewards if you do sign up with my link to Margex down below. Guys, this is where I do all of my trading at. There's a ton of different options. You can see it here. So feel free to go check that out again down in the description below if you're interested. Now, today we're going to start off with what is going on from a technical perspective and a fundamental perspective, and then we'll jump into the news because that's what I really want to focus on. Now, from a technical perspective, of course, things are actually still looking pretty good. I did an entire video just yesterday going over what the technical analysis was showing, what I was seeing from the charts, and how I was feeling. The primary basis of what I told you all was that, listen, we need to be very careful right now. Even if Bitcoin's price does continue upwards and does continue this move, there's a very high likelihood that we do get some sort of cool down or pullback. And so as a result of that, knowing that we're starting to see some of these things play out and knowing that we are getting overextended, I'm just kind of chilling right now. I opened up a leveraged long trade that had a stop loss below $64,000 just in case we do pull back towards the downside, and I did do a dollar cost average purchase into my macro portfolio when we broke out. Outside of that, now that I've done those two moves, I'm just kind of chilling, sitting, waiting and watching, because again, it does feel to me as if we could get some type of cool down or pullback here, at least while we are still sitting within the resistance zone of our macro all-time high. Okay, and so because of that, I am just kind of sitting back and watching. And from a fundamental perspective, I am still seeing something very similar. You see, on the one-day charts, for example, liquidations are rather even, but we are still seeing more liquidations to the downside than the upside. If we do head over to the 7-day charts, we can see way more liquidations to the downside than the upside. And then if you look at the 30-day charts, we can see way more liquidations to the downside than the upside. And what this means is that historically speaking, crypto will move in the direction in which there are the most liquidations, because I do believe it's manipulated and the lizard people want to take as much of your crypto as possible. And so when we see moments like this in which there are a ton of liquidations in one direction, it's not uncommon for this market to move to liquidate those people. And so knowing that if we do pull back maybe to retest this previous point of resistance and try to flip it into support, right? If we go for a back test or something, knowing this is going to liquidate tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars, I do think that this is a possibility from a technical and fundamental perspective. But overall, I do think from a macro grand scheme of things, I think we're still in a great spot, right? Even if we do pull back a little bit in the short term to liquidate some of these people towards the downside, when you zoom this bad boy out to say the 1 year, there are still a ton of liquidations that are sitting above us. We've liquidated a lot of people, don't get me wrong, but there are still a ton of liquidations sitting above us, and I do think we'll continue to be able to move into that. You know, even if you look at something like the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, right? Although this bad boy is in greed, right, and we're at a 77, we are somewhat stable in greed. It's not like we're herky-jerky shooting up and down all over the place. We are holding up well and sustaining this area well, which is very similar to what we see in these moments in which the market does run, right? You see the market starting to run to the upside here, and these points of stability like this and like this, these are sustainable moves to the upside, and that's what I like. Shit starts getting crazy when you start seeing these big moves from fear to greed to fear to greed. That's when it gets scary. That's what we don't like. So the fact that we are sustaining in greed, I think it's okay. Obviously not the best time to be buying in greed, but if you have to, not the worst time whatsoever. So from a technical perspective, from a fundamental perspective, everything seems okay, right? RSI, 1 week RSI, still in the bottom side of the neutral zone, not bad, but we do have some of our topper altcoins up there. Your smaller alts, right, your lower market cap alts are still rather decent buying opportunities right now because we haven't seen liquidity shift into alts yet, but your top side alts in Bitcoin are definitely a little high. And then 24-hour is sitting around that neutral zone, but again, similar story. Solana, Bitcoin, Doge, BNB, ETH, Link, a lot of these major alts are sitting already towards strong and overbought, which historically is just not a good time to buy. But you look at your smaller alts, they're in a decent time for purchasing. And so because of that, it does seem as if we could get some type of shift in liquidity from our majors to our minors pretty soon. So of course, that is something to pay attention to. But in the grand scheme of things, the market's looking damn good. Don't really care if we pull back at all. If it wants to pull back and liquidate some of these people, fantastic. Get that friggin' RS flip right here. Start trying to build that thing up. Cool. If not, if we continue upwards, cool. Don't really care. Looking pretty damn good. Very happy with where we're at right now. Now, that's the technicals, that's the fundamentals. If you want a full video on TA, go check out my video from yesterday. We did everything there. But let's talk about some news, baby, because God, is it looking good. Visa launches real-time Bitcoin and crypto purchases with debit cards in partnership with Coinbase. Now, this is gnarly news. This is gnarly news, and I'm extremely, extremely happy about this. What they came out and said was, look, this integration aims, let's just zoom this bad boy in a little bit for you. There we go. This integration aims to empower crypto users in the US and EU to fund their Coinbase accounts on the spot, enabling faster responses to crypto market shifts. According to Visa, the new feature aims to streamline the funding process by cutting down traditional wait times. The firm noted that the Visa Direct network powers these instant deposits, allowing users to top up accounts or make crypto purchases almost immediately. Now, they go on to say providing real-time account funding using Visa Direct and an eligible Visa debit card means that those Coinbase users with an eligible Visa debit card know that they can take advantage of trading opportunities day and night. And I love the fact that we're finally getting some news that is targeted towards retail investors, because it does feel like everything recently has been a lot more institution based, and some of the news we're going to talk about today is institution based or ETF based. And although it's all great, you have to understand, from a grand perspective, if we're going to achieve mass adoption, we need to be targeting every level, from institutions down to retail investors. And this is a freaking key step to being able to access mass adoption amongst retail investors, because it gives people the opportunity and an easier ability to take a step into the world of crypto, fund their accounts, deposit, withdraw, onboard, off-ramp, these types of things on a quick basis, right? What we saw prior, especially in the last market, was getting into crypto was a little bit difficult. There was a learning curve. And because of that, I do think it stopped some people from coming to this world because they immediately got confused. Whereas this is much, much easier, and this is much more simple. And although it's not, of course, Visa just using Bitcoin or anything of that nature, it's partnering up with Coinbase, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, centralized exchange here in the United States, to be able to bring users to the world of crypto much easier, which is intrinsically extremely valuable. Now, moving forward, what we can see here is we just got some more news that China is working on a $1.6 trillion debt stimulus to boost the economy. Now, we have seen China and Eastern Asia absolutely popping off recently, going insane, stimulating the economy, giving their people, help and boosting up a lot. It's just, they needed it, right? The economy was struggling, jobs were dying, and unemployment was shooting through the roof. People were dying. I mean, it was just not good. And so they recognized, hey, we have to do something, and so we're going to act on it. Now, it is always interesting, of course, because whenever you do this much stimulus, it is almost a guarantee that you're going to trigger some sort of inflationary rise. So I am curious to see how they're going to battle that. But from a grand perspective, you have to understand that China and Eastern Asia and Hong Kong, these things right now, they are opening up their doors to crypto a ton. They're saying, look, you can come here as long as you follow the general rules, which are very clearly outlined now. You can operate however much you please. I know a lot of these companies that have moved there from India, from Italy, from these many places that are putting more regulatory, I don't know what the word is. Hardship, I guess. That's a weird word, but whatever. Putting hardship on some of these companies. Restraint, that's a better one. Regulatory restraint on some of these companies. And they're leaving and they're just going to China, or they're going to Hong Kong, or they're going to Japan or Singapore, or whatever it may be. And these types of things, these types of news are only going to kind of continue that. We're only going to see that continue to grow. And in moments like this, in which they are going to continue to stimulate the economy at the same time that they're opening their doors to crypto, it's almost a guarantee that we will see some sort of massive push from crypto, especially in this region, that could rival some of the pushes that we've seen here from just the US. And it could be the contributing factor that we need to really get Bitcoin up to 150 to 200K, if that is where this thing is going. Now, speaking of the United States, we did get some news here from the US, from Florida, which is moving towards a Bitcoin reserve. We can see that Florida State's CFO endorses a strategic Bitcoin reserve and pushes pension funds for firefighters, teachers, and police officers to buy Bitcoin. He says that Bitcoin is often called digital gold, and it can help diversify the state's portfolio and provide a secure hedge against the volatility of other major asset classes. And this is no coincidence, guys. Remember, Berenstein came out and said, this was just 2 weeks ago, that they believe that Bitcoin will hit 200,000 by the end of 2025, and one of the major reasons as to why they believe this is that many companies and states and countries are going to begin using Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. We recently got some information about Microsoft wanting to invest in a Bitcoin their own way. And now we're starting to see Florida, which is a major state, coming out and talking about doing this and endorsing it. Will it happen? I don't know. But it is a step in the right direction, and it just goes to show the interest that we are seeing across these major states, major countries, and major players in the world. And so because of these things, guys, I mean, this is all fantastic news. Every single piece of these pieces of news that we got today was absolutely massive. I think my favorite has to be what we're seeing from Visa, because I just love the idea of appealing to a mass adoption across retail investors. But if China does push something out like this, guys, absolutely huge. Florida does this, absolutely huge. And you just needed to see it because it's absolutely nuts. So overall, the market's in a fantastic place. It feels great to be bullish. I don't care if the market pulls back now. Don't care if we consolidate a little bit. Let it happen. Everything's looking good. The door's wide open. And if we do see a President Trump presidential election next week, although I'm not talking about my own political beliefs or anything like that, I'm just saying from a pure crypto perspective, I do think that could be the final thing that absolutely is needed to, over the next coming months, send this market to where we want it to go. So make sure that you guys do pay attention, because look, things are getting crazy and you don't need to be missing out and sitting out right now. Guys, I will let you know I do have a Patreon for this channel. It's $5 a month, and you can get access to daily thoughts from me, daily fundamental analysis about, what's happening from the Fear and Greed Index, RSIs, liquidations, etc., and daily technical analysis on some of my favorite cryptos that I like to cover on a daily basis. So if you want that, of course, go check it out. Only $5 a month. Feel free. You can join the community, chat with me, chat with some of the homies. It's fun in there. So of course, go hang out, go check it out. Let me know what you think, and catch up with me next time, everybody. Peace out.